everyone, and welcome to Dunks and Discussions, an NBA podcast. I am your host, Michael Riley. Welcome back to episode 8. As you can tell, it has been a while since the last episode. It has been about a month, a little under a month, actually. I just have fallen behind. I've been slacking. I haven't really been watching as much basketball, as much NBA as I would like to. But I'm not going to let this show stop. I made a commitment. I said I am going to follow this NBA season. I'm going to follow it from the beginning to end through this podcast, give my thoughts so I can see how they change or what I think at various points throughout the year. And I'm going to keep doing it. And if you haven't seen, I posted to Twitter and on my TikTok, I posted the new schedule. I'm going to be doing this every 2 weeks. So 2 weeks from today, this will be uploaded on January 8th. I'll be uploading again on the 22nd of January, and then I believe it is the 5th of February, and then 19th, just the day after the All-Star game. Those will be the next 4 episodes. And from there, I think I'm going to keep doing 2-week breaks, or not 2-week breaks, just 2 weeks for the next episode. Gives me time to absorb the games that I watch, absorb media, absorb NBA drama, and then I can come and give my thoughts. And hopefully, as time goes on, by the time that this season is wrapping up, I will have maybe made a few more cohesive points. My goal is to begin. I have some like thoughts, not necessarily hot takes, just takes that I want to give about specific topics. I don't feel prepared enough to begin that this episode, but I would like to take the time, and having 2 weeks in between will allow me the time to go back and watch old film, do research, and just take the time to put my thoughts down on paper before I come here and maybe do a JJ Redick style rant to the camera. But we'll see how that goes as time goes on. As far as this episode goes, not really sure what the length will be like. I'm thinking maybe on the shorter end, under 30 minutes, but we will see. We'll see how that goes. I want to talk a little bit about the All-Star ballot. The first returns came for fan voting. A lot of people are talking about it, and it happens every year, but I'll give a few thoughts on that. And then I am just going to be giving some general thoughts on a few of NBA teams. Well, more than a few, about a handful, almost a third of the league. I'll just be going through, giving a quick little, I'll say the team, give a quick little like one sentence phrase summary of my thoughts, and then I'll delve into it a little bit deeper. I won't be talking about every team. The NBA is in a awesome place right now, in my opinion. You look at the East, the top 8 kind of look, there's like 2 tiers as the top 8 and then the bottom 7. But, those 9, 10, 11 teams could come back. But right now, the top 8 are all pretty close. They're all within 8 games. The Celtics obviously have a lead. So the 2 through 8 spot are all 4.5 games separated. The West is just as cool. The 1 through 12 spot are only separated by 9.5 games. 9.5 games. That is not, that is a substantial amount. But then you go a little further down and you see that the 6 seed is only 4.5 games ahead of the 12 seed. And 4.5 games is a week and a half of losing 5 straight games, and the other team wins 4 out of 5. And then boom, close to record. It's like NBA is in a very cool place. I think that last year, little post New Year, there was a lot of changing in the West, but this was around the time where the Nuggets solidified themselves the 1 seed. So maybe the Timberwolves will keep this 1 seed, not let it go, or maybe the Thunder will come steal it. I don't know, but I'm just gonna go through some teams. Can't go through all of them, otherwise we'll be here all day. And like I said, I haven't been watching as much. I have obviously been paying attention to the NBA. I am fully ingrained in just like NBA Twitter, NBA media, NBA Instagram, NBA TikTok. I am following the game, but I haven't been able to watch full games and analyze the game as much as I was kind of hoping to. But at the same time, I just like to talk about it. Like anyone, I can be a casual and I can talk casually about it. But I don't know, it is a little better when I'm backing it up by things I've seen these teams do. and I haven't been watching. But with that said, let's dive into the All-Star voting returns, the first voting returns. I'm going to start by saying I don't think these matter that much. I really don't. Everyone is getting a little pissy about it, and they're upset by players not being there. And the fan voting really just doesn't matter anymore. I know they account for half of the starters. I know they factor fan voting in 50%. Then I know I think coaches, GMs, and players 25%, 25%. I know there's a three. I think coaches, GMs might be together. And that's how it is now, and that's how it's been since about 18 or something, 2017. Because I remember Dwayne Wade would have been an All-Star his year on the Bulls, even though he didn't necessarily have All-Star numbers, but because he would have been voted in, but he didn't make it because the coaches didn't vote him. So, it's different now, and usually they get it right, and players will get snubbed from the bench, but I think the starters, like, I know what people are saying. I don't know. I've seen people maybe upset about Curry being up there. Where's my picture? Yeah, because the two top guards are Luka Doncic and Steph Curry. I've seen people upset that it's not Shea and Anthony Edwards. I get that. Kyrie Irving's top five. Kyrie Irving's missed time, and he's the second best guard in his team. Should he be there? Obviously, LeBron and AD are near the top of the front court, and their team is ass right now. I don't know. Their team is bad. The Lakers have not been good, and they both might make the All-Star team. I don't know. The All-Star game is weird. The voting is weird. Like Devin Booker, let's talk about who didn't make it. Devin Booker wasn't in the top 10 of the Western guards. That's pretty crazy. Austin Reeves was in the top 10, but not Devin Booker. That's strange to me. That's very strange. No Sabonis in the Western front court. Less surprising from a popularity standpoint, but from play standpoint, that's pretty crazy. I feel like he deserves to be up there. Let's see who, like, the problem is there's obviously two rookies, Victor Wembanyama and Chet Holmgren. Sabonis deserves to be an All-Star over those two, of course, but he's not as flashy. And the fans like flash, and people have been talking about those two rookies, so that makes sense. Again, the voting doesn't matter that much. LeBron's at the top. KD is still at the top. Giannis, Luka Doncic, Tyrese Halliburton got a lot of votes. So I'm a little surprised by quite how many he got. That is insane. I knew that he was becoming popular this year, but he's truly becoming a like top tier household name in the NBA at this point. But the voting just doesn't matter. What's important is once the starters are locked in and we see who actually makes it in, then that matters because then we can say who got snubbed, who deserved to be there and didn't. And you just can't do that right now. You just can't. I don't know. Who cares who was 10th in voting in the Western Front Court? Like, who cares right now? It just doesn't matter at all for anything. And then fans don't vote for the bench. So that's just coaches, I'm pretty sure. So it doesn't really matter. It doesn't. It's cool. Let the fans vote. I mean, come on. Why not? I understand sometimes we make bad decisions, but Kobe was an all-star. All those last few years he was hurt, but it was cool. The last year he played, was he an all-star? No, but he got to play in the all-star game, and that was sick. We let Dwayne Wade and Dirk play in the all-star game just because they were old and it was their last season, and that was cool. It's just supposed to be a fun game. Let's worry less about the voting and stuff about that. Let's just make the game fun again. That's all that matters. The voting is not important. Like analyzing the voting is not important. It's important because we get to see who goes in. They already changed it, and I think it works. Fans don't 100% vote on the starters. They only get half control, and I think that's fine. They don't get control of the bench. Let's just make the game more fun, and the people that are going to be in there are still going to be the best. We're not going to put scrubs in the starting lineup. We aren't. The closest in recent memory would probably be that Kobe Bryant season his last year because he was not that great that year, and he was a starter. So I don't know. They're not that important. We're gonna get a new set of voting results this upcoming week. So obviously you won't hear me talk about them because I won't be back for 2 weeks. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know why people get so riled up about it every year. It makes no sense to me. It's one of the least important things, or just least impactful things on an NBA season is the first voting returns, and people get so riled up about it. I don't get it. Anywho, let's move on. And I'm going to talk about some NBA teams. Oh, another thing I'd like to mention. I said before that the East did not look as much fun as the West, and I know I just went over this, but the East is looking fun. Like the Heat have been playing well, and they have dropped in the standings because some teams around them, like the Knicks and Cavaliers, are picking it up and playing really well. The Pacers are playing really well, and they're still kind of slipping, and they're in the 8th spot. And the Magic, they've actually haven't been playing super well, but they still have some big wins semi recently, and they're holding around out of all about the same record. The Knicks, Cavs, Heat, Magic, and Pacers, as of right now, all have 15 losses and 20 or 21 wins. They're all right there. The East is getting fun. Like I said, we may already know who the 8 teams are that are going to make playoffs. We have the play-in tournament to go, so the Nets, Bulls, Hawks, they can still make it. Raptors. But I don't know. Just from a standings perspective at this moment in time, it looks like the top 8 right now in some form will likely be the top 8, but again, we're not even at the half point yet of the season. I just think it's interesting. I was putting the East to bed, and they probably are still put to bed because the Celtics are the best team in the NBA right now. But it's just interesting. I'm glad that it's getting shaken up a little bit. I'm glad that it's not just the Heat well, I'm not. I wish the Heat would just slam themselves in at the 3 spot and let the Sixers fall down. But I'm glad that there's some shuffling. It makes it fun. It makes it a little more fun to watch. And I think as we get into February post All-Star break and March, as long as it stays fun, people will watch. And people will watch the end of the season because it'll get interesting like it did last year. It was very interesting. And it led to, I feel like, just some very fun and fierce and competitive playoff games because teams were already playing like it was the playoffs through the last month of the season. And I want that to happen again. I just think that was exciting. It led to some great basketball in the first round last year. Some bad series, but for the most part, some pretty good series. Let's go down this list. I thought I was gonna shake these up, but I'm just gonna go in order of the way I have them because why not? First, I'll talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves. They have proved that this is not a fluke, and they are a good team and good for the 1 seed, and they truly look like a finals contender. I don't know for sure if I would pick them to go out still, but again, just not fluke. They are a 1 seed. They're going to stay this good probably the rest of the year, barring an injury, and they're going to stay one of the top teams in the West. I feel like an underrated aspect of trades they made last year. Underrated. They did talk about it, but it's just under the radar of what people talk about these days. The Mike Conley trade, when they, D'Angelo Russell got shipped to the Lakers and they ended up with Mike Conley, he just sort of fits this team so well. I don't know. Something a little better than D'Angelo Russell did, at least. And something about it, now that they had a training camp to work everything out, have had 2 back-to-back first-round exits in the playoffs, so they've gotten some experience. This team is very good. Obviously, I mean, Mike Conley already had experience. Rudy Gobert already had experience. Now, Cat's been in the playoffs a good few times. Ant's been there now twice. This team was just ready, and a lot of people overlooked them because of past history and just what have you. And, Rudy Gobert problems in the playoffs. And I think it was fair. I think it was very fair. I overlooked them, but I don't know. They just are so much better, and I think that's on me. I think it's on me because Anthony Edwards was a number 1 pick, and he's a number 1 pick who was very deserving of it and will probably be an all-time great. So I think that was a little on me. I should have accounted a little more for his jump. But no, they look great. And I'm excited to see what they do the rest of the year. Up next, the Miami Heat. They may not be the best team in the East right now, but I have no reason to believe that the Heat can't win the East. They're really good. They are really good, and when they're healthy, they are just as good as I think the Celtics or the Bucks. I really do. I really do. I think they are perhaps the deepest team in the league. I know I'm biased, but I really do. I think Coach Spo can just, if people are hurt, Coach Spo just goes, all right, 11th man, 12th man, Cole Swider, Haywood Highsmith. I know he's not down there anymore, but like, who are these guys? And they come in and they're really good. And he makes it work. And I really believe in the trio of Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Tyler Hero. And I think that they can go head to head against the Celtics. I think they can go head to head against the Bucks. I think they can go head to head against the Sixers. And I think they can beat them. They haven't shown me that they can't. They have shown bad stretches like most teams this year. But Jimmy has shown when the cards are down, when it's playoff time, you can count on him. And last I checked, he's still in the Miami Heat uniform. So I feel pretty good. I still feel good about them. I feel very, very good about their chances. Obviously, they don't look like the best team in the East right now. They have a long way to go before I can say they are and that they will win the East. Win the East? Did I say West? But I don't know. My confidence is not shaken in this team, and I'm hoping for a top 4 finish. What I say they are currently? They're currently the 6th seed, but 4 through 8 are half game apart. Up next, the Los Angeles Lakers. They have looked dreadful recently, and they do not look like a playoff team. And I hate to say that. I have less optimism about this Lakers team right now than I did with the same team, or with this team last year that was the 13 seed and 14 and 20. They might not have been 14, or they might not have been the 13th seed when they were 14 and 20. They might have been the 12th or 11th, but still, that's right where they are now. Worst record. I don't know. I liked Ham's rotations last year. I liked his rotations. I liked the way he used the team before the trades, even though they weren't winning games with Westbrook and Pat Bev. I liked the rotations. I liked what he was doing, and I saw good things. I obviously saw amazing things post trades when they were winning and made the conference finals. This year, I don't know. It feels like they started off iffy but decent, and Ham kept changing things. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't watched every game, and they had some bad losses early on, but this losing stretch since the in-season tournament, they're as bad as the Pistons, as the Wizards, as the Spurs. Those are really the Hornets. Those are really bad teams, and they have a record just as bad as them. That's not okay. You got LeBron and AD, and they're playing really well. Austin Reeves is still playing pretty well. Everyone else just kind of sucks. No one else has found their role. Ham is not using this team well. I don't know. And I don't necessarily want to say I want him fired, but I don't like what he's doing. So either he's got to go, or you need to make a trade. And I was against when I had my friend Joe Cervantes on this show. I think it was episode 3, something like that. I told him, I said, I don't want the Lakers to make a trade this year. I like them. I like this team. I want to see what this team can do. No. I want LeBron to get that ring. I want the Lakers to get a ring or get close to it. And they don't look close. They can't shoot threes. They don't have playmakers outside of Reeves, LeBron, and AD. D'Angelo Russell now doesn't, I know he's hurt, but even before, once he got moved to the bench, he didn't know his role. It felt like Rui Hachimura wasn't doing quite what he was doing last year. And I want these guys to. I want to see them succeed. He's not using the lineups that were maximizing success last year, and I don't entirely understand why. And then, I don't know, for some reason, guys just come to the Lakers and they forget how to play. I know minutes go down for certain guys. I know Christian Wood, his minutes go down. Gabe Vincent gets hurt, doesn't come in, isn't able to do exactly what he was doing with Miami. But I don't know what's going on, man. You got to put the ball in the hole. Someone's got to come in, put the ball in the hole. That's not LeBron or AD or Austin Reeves. And not a lot of guys are able to do that besides D'Lo, and he was only doing it when he was starting. Torian Prince should be the worst starter, and there have been times where he's been the third best starter because they start Jared Vanderbilt and Cam Reddish. That's not okay. No, you need to have two guys better than Torian Prince in there. No shade to Torian Prince. He's a very good player, but it's like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. If Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is your worst starter, then you're a pretty good team, like the Denver Nuggets last year. You're a pretty good team if you've got Jamal Murray, Michael Porter, Aaron Gordon, Nikola Jokic, and you still have KCP. He's a 10 to 12 point a game scorer who probably knocks down close to 40% from three. Torian Prince could be that guy. But when you're relying on him to be your third best starter until Austin Reeves comes in the game, I just don't know what you're going to do. I just don't know how you're expecting to compete in the stacked West. Okay, I went very long on the Lakers. I know I say this every time. They have frustrated me. They have frustrated me more even than last season, and I just didn't think that would be possible. Let's just move on. Oh, and as far as trades go, I don't want Zach LaVine. I feel like, I mean, he'd be great. I wouldn't be upset, but I know DeJounte Murray's on the table. I like the idea of Lakers getting him. And then I've seen a lot of talk of them, or not talk, but ideas of them getting Jeremy Grant and Malcolm Brogdon from the Blazers. And if they were able to somehow do that and not give up crazy assets, that would I think be great, because those are two very good players who would help, I think, a lot in the playoffs, help LeBron and AD, and that changes the starting lineup dramatically. All right, moving on now. The Oklahoma City Thunder. They are young and hungry, ready to win now. Inexperience could show as time goes on, but I don't know. They've looked very mature all season long. I like this team. I like this team a lot. I had them a little lower in my preseason rankings just because they're young. So I thought that even if they had a good start, that they would maybe go on a skid. And there's been no skid. There's been no skid at all. They've stayed at the top of the West now, or not top two, for a good few weeks. And they just continue to stay right above the Nuggets. And I think that's great. The Clippers are surging. The Nuggets are still playing well. And they're 2 games back from a team who I think is the second best team in the NBA this year, in the Timberwolves. They're number 2 in... Wait. Let me get this right. They're number 2 in field goal percentage and number 1 in three-point field goal percentage. This team just knows how to put the ball in the hole. They don't miss. They have a superstar. Shai is a superstar. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Chet Holmgren is incredible. You know, everyone's talking about Wemby this year, and Chet, of course, but Chet is, in a way, just another Wembanyama, and you're plopping him on the Thunder. And I don't know, they just feel fun and energetic, and I don't know what it is. When the Thunder had a young Kevin Durant, Westbrook, and Harden, Ibaka, so they just, I don't know, something about them is just fun. Them making the finals, playing the Heat. I don't know, the arena, the fans, the atmosphere. It's cool. It's cool when this team is good. And I don't really understand why. It's just a vibe. I don't know. Just a vibe that I get. I don't know if other people get it, but I like to see them be good. Their inexperience could potentially come into play. But like I said, they've looked mature. They have, I don't know, guys, I feel like that know how to finish games. But yeah, I believe they're probably still number 1 in drives per game. So they just love to drive, kick the ball out, and that's how they get all these threes. And then they nail them. They nail them because they just have really good shooters. So I don't know. I feel like I could see them getting a high seed and losing to a I don't know, 7 seed. Right now, the Phoenix Suns are down there. They're scary. Obviously, if the Lakers or the Warriors were to start figuring things out and got an 8 or 7 seed, they have the name of LeBron James, Steph, KD. Like, I could see them losing a first round series, but I don't know if they get a 2 seed and they have home court advantage. Man, I like this team. I like the look of this team, and they're just fun to watch. I would love to see them more, as I hope to watch more games. Up next, the Boston Celtics. They have looked like the clear best team all year long. The East. God, I keep messing up East. The East has some other juggernauts, but I don't know. I feel like of all the good teams that Boston has had over the years, this team has the highest expectations. This is at the very least finals or bust, and that's been every team. But I don't know. Even more than that, they really have to win because this is the best team of all those Boston teams. Even the year they made the finals, I've said this before, they weren't that great in the regular season. They finished great. They started mediocre and just finished great. This team's been amazing from the start, and I think they're going to get the 1 seed. I think they're going to likely steamroll whoever the 8th seed is, even if it's the Pacers. I don't know. I just kind of think so. The Magic are just, I think, too young, and I think the Pacers are also too young. So unless the Heat get that 8 seed, I don't think anyone's going to be beating them. And then the 4-5 will be dependent on who they have to play. But I don't know. It'll be a nice little run for them to potentially get to that conference finals, and that's what they'll have to play. Sixers, Bucks, but best team all year long. They just look really good defensively. They can't lose at home so far. Their entire starting lineup is all-star level talent. Derek White is not an all-star. He is an all-star level talent. The talent is there, but the numbers are not there. No, I'm sorry. He's the 5th best starter. Actually, that might not be true. Drew Holiday might be the 5th best starter. But 5th best starter on the team, that's not going to get an all-star. They're only going to have 3. And it's probably going to be Jalen, Jason, and Kristaps. And there's too many other good players. Derek's not an all-star. But they're a really good team. Can't wait to see Miami beat their ass in the playoffs again. That's going to be fun. But they look like the best team right now. The Milwaukee Bucks. They can't beat the Pacers. Apparently. But they've still looked like a good team. They've lost to the Pacers 4 times. 4 times to one team already. January 7th. That's crazy. I don't have a whole lot to say about this team. Again, I haven't been able to watch a ton of their games, but Giannis and Dame are a duo good enough to win a championship any year. Any year that they're both still relatively in their primes, because they kind of still are, even if Dame is getting older. They're good enough to win a chip, and this team is good enough too. But the thing about Giannis to me is he has some playoff runs where he has been so dominant it's not even funny, and then he's had some where he has been slowed a little bit. Last year was different because he only got to play 3 games, but even in those 3 games, he wasn't amazing. It was even more like 2.5. 2020, obviously that didn't go well for him, but then the next year, 2021, championship year, he was dominant. Even in 2022, he was actually really good. So I don't know. I'm interested to see what this year's playoffs will bring out of Giannis, because I know that last year was even the question on the podium. He had to give a whole talk about what success means and what failure means. So the Bucks are an interesting one. I know. I feel like everyone would still have Celtics Bucks as the common pick for a Eastern Conference Finals, and I gotta say that would be one heck of a good storyline. But yeah, we'll see. I don't really know what to think of Giannis in the playoffs. It's not as clear cut as Joel Embiid gets worse in the playoffs. LeBron, KD, these guys improve. Luka improve in the playoffs. He's had a little bit of both. So I don't know. I'm interested to see. I think he's going to come in with a vengeance. So if he backs it up, ring number 2 could be coming to Milwaukee. There are so many teams I feel like could win it this year. This just seems. I feel like people were kind of saying that last year, but even by this point, we'll see. Maybe by the time the playoffs roll around, we'll have a little bit more feel, because once the playoffs started, I don't think I would have said that as well. I think I would have said just a few of the teams really had a shot. I wouldn't have said the Kings. Oh, the Kings could win the title this year. I didn't think that last year. This year, it's still too early to tell, but they're right there. They kind of look good. I'll talk about them in a minute. Sneak peek. But yeah, that's the Bucks. Next, the New York Knicks. Now, they're following last year's success well, and they're climbing the standings now. They're at the 4 seed. And I think they have a solid big three with the addition of OG. I say big three loosely. Now, it may not have the same name value as other trios in the past or right now, but OG Anunoby was a pretty good acquisition in my head. I don't love that they lost essentially their two main youth pieces, but they're not concerned about youth anymore, and I think they're trying to show that. They've got Jalen Brunson, they have Julius Randle. Whether or not you or I think that that'll get them a championship doesn't matter. The front office has to think, we got these guys, we have to get a championship. So that's their thought process. They're thinking, we have Jalen Brunson on honestly a fairly team-friendly deal. I think it was only like 4 years, $100 million. Julius Randle on a, I believe, max contract. And you've got RJ Barrett, who just hasn't really been making that leap and might not as a third option. Emmanuel Quickley is your fourth option. They're just not, the situation wasn't right. So you had to do something. If the Knicks could have messed around and somehow gotten Pascal and OG, I don't even know if contracts work, that would have been the best scenario, obviously. I know that sounds obvious, but I don't know if that was even on the table. I wish we could have heard more about that. But OG himself is not enough to get the Knicks for sure over the hump on paper, but I don't know. It was a move that I think, needed to make. They needed to make some sort of move. And I don't think it was a bad one. I don't think you could say that they made a bad move because they still have Jalen Brunson for another 2 years after this season. I don't know what Randall's situation is. But you'll probably be able to re-sign OG. I think he'll want to stay in New York, and I think they'll be able to give him the money. So I don't know. I don't think that they made that big of a mistake. It'll become a mistake if Quickley or Barrett become not just an all-star. I don't think that would make it a mistake, but a perennial all-star. If RJ Barrett turns into the RJ Barrett everyone thought he'd be coming out of high school, coming out of college, and makes a leap to next year, he's averaging 25 a game. Year after that, he's averaging 28, 29 a game. Then it might be, okay, the Knicks might have made a mistake. But until that happens, I think it was a fair decision to make. And I think that could help them come playoff time because he has experience. Experience comes in handy. And they're trying to not just beat the Cavs again and lose to Miami or Boston or something. They're trying to get to a conference finals. So this is I think that's the type of move where you're getting the experience of a veteran and letting your youth go. And you're like, this is our time to see if we can upset one of these teams this year. Because they've shown that they can beat these teams. They beat the Bucks on Christmas. They're able to beat these teams once. Can you beat them in a series? And someone like OG is going to, I think, be worth giving up RJ and Emmanuel, at least this season. Up next, the Los Angeles Clippers. They are looking scary good. 14-2 in their last 16 games, if I recall correctly. I still think the lack of size worries me, but I don't know. Once Zubac comes back, if he is back, I don't know. That might not be a problem. And they have the talent and now the synergy to beat just about any team in this league. I jotted here, they're number 2 in 3-point field goal percentage, which is very good. It's also interesting when you have Russell Westbrook on your team. Sorry. Look, I didn't call him a name or anything. I just said he can't shoot. I think this team is at their best as long as Kawhi is their best player. As long as they know that Kawhi is their best player. And I think they've done that. I feel like they allowed James Harden to run the offense. And when Kawhi has played, he's been on a tear. He's been going off. And he's one of those players also who steps up in the playoffs and can become literally Michael Jordan in the playoffs. Literally. They were comparing him to Michael Jordan in 2019. And then you also have Paul George. So, I don't know, there's a lot of weapons and they're starting to figure it out. I I just don't know how to feel about them because health is always a concern, and I don't know. I don't, something about James Harden still worries me. Just the trio of them all, uh, eh, losing bad games in a row in the playoffs, going down 2-1, even just in the series they win game 1, lose 2 games. I don't know when that situation pops up in my head and I think about this team, then I'm thinking, like, if they're playing against a good team that could be cooked, it'll be hard to get back on track if they lose frame of reference and start playing like the team they were at the beginning. Because they're looking at a 4 seed right now, and if the playoffs started today, they would play the Sacramento Kings. Now, I'd be willing to hear you out on them beating the Kings in the first round. I would. I could see it going either way. But I could see them losing to the Kings just as easily, because the Kings, when they are rolling, look like a well-oiled machine. And the Clippers, on the other hand, I feel like are more like, I'm not the best at analogies, so I'll just try and describe it out. When I say well-oiled machine, it feels like the Kings are a culmination of, yes, some amazing players, but the system and the way they run the system, the coach, the way they use these players is just so seamless. Whereas the Clippers, it was not seamless. It was a transition period. This took like molding and manufacturing, like a blacksmith just smacking on that hammer. And Ty Lue had to go smack for nights and nights until they could figure it out. And they're figuring it out right now. Man, the West is so hard. If I had to pick playoff series right now, it would be very difficult. It would just be very, very, very hard, especially in the West. But I think the Clippers, I don't know. They have a guy. They could. Imagining a world where they win the title this year isn't that far fetched. It isn't. Even when whether you're a Westbrook hater, you think Kawhi is made of glass. You just think Paul George sucks. I don't know. What have you. It's not that far fetched. There is a world where the Clippers win at least 3 series in the West, make the finals. But like I said, it's a bit of a Miami Heat situation where I think they aren't necessarily the best team right now, but you could see them stacking up against any team because they've got the personnel and right now the resume to do so. I've got 2 more for you, and then we're going to be wrapping up. We're going a little longer than I thought, but it is what it is. It's been a whole month. I got 2 more teams. Next, I want to talk about the Denver Nuggets. I think the Nuggets definitely don't look as dominant as last year, but they're still looking like one of the best teams in the West, obviously, number 3. The bench isn't as solid as last year, and that's been a concern all season long, but I think the young players are learning, and I think they can provide great value, even in the playoffs, just like Christian Braun last year. So I don't have a whole lot of worries with the Nuggets. I don't. Honestly, one of the biggest things that worries me is that recently it's been a lot harder for teams to repeat. You just haven't been seeing teams do it as much since, obviously, the Warriors. There's been a little more parity in this league, and they lost players. So it feels like, I'm not a betting man, but if you're betting, we haven't seen it back to back. And I know it's only been 5 years, but it just feels like the NBA might not be in a mode for back-to-backs in the 2020s right now. It might be too tough. It might be too tough to win back-to-back. And then I think that the teams that will, that's going to be who solidifies themselves, right? The Bucks win some titles this decade, and the Nuggets win a couple more or something. That'll show us who the real face is. Heck, the Mavericks win some titles before 2030. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I just feel like they obviously still have a chance to go back to back. I'm not going to say they don't. They have the best player in the league. I still think Nikola Jokic is the best player in the league, and he's got one of the worst superstar whistles I've ever seen. He had one game where he got a lot of free throws, and everyone called him a free throw merchant. Okay. Are you even watching these games? No, he does not get calls. He never gets calls. It's because he's so big and so good. The refs don't call any fouls on him, even when the team is almost trying to foul him. But I don't know. They have just as good a shot as last year to win. I feel like what it'll come down to is the whole playoffs is just going to come down to who is playing the most as a cohesive unit. Because last year, that Nuggets team was they had their 8 guys, and once those 8 guys figured out their roles, it was hard to beat them, and that's why they swept the Lakers, and that's why they beat the Heat in 5, because it was a different team than the team that was playing in the first round. They had just they figured something out during that Sun series when they won those last 2 games last year, and that's all it takes. Is you just once you figure that out, and you just got to win 16 games. They'll be there. They'll be there. Them as a 3 seed right now is crazy. They would play the Mavericks if the season ended today. That would be a cool playoff series. I'd probably pick the Nuggets, but again, Luka versus Jokic in the playoff. Could you imagine? Actually, can you imagine the box scores of that? Oh my god, they would just be throwing 30-point triple doubles at each other. Luka would be like, "I had 35, 14, and 11." And Jokic just like, "Brother, I had 40, 18, and 12. What are you gonna do? I'm bigger than you." So, yeah, no, the Nuggets are very good. I don't have a lot of outlandish takes on them or any like crazy takes. They're still really good. And the last team I want to talk about is the Sacramento Kings. Sacramento Kings, like the Thunder, I like the aura of this team. I like their aura, which is weird. I've never ever seen the Kings be good. This is the second year I've seen the Kings be good. First time last year. I like the aura. I don't know what it is. I like their aura. They are able to win games. De'Aaron Fox is really damn good. Obviously, Mr. Clutch last year. And if you got a guy named Mr. Clutch, that's that's pretty nice to have come playoff time. And I am a firm believer in Domantas Sabonis. A lot of people, right after the playoffs ended, were like, "This dude just sucks. Can't trust him come playoff time." But he's the type of player who can impact the game even when he isn't scoring points. And Keegan Murray's improvement and ascension is also going to be huge. He was a rookie last year. Now he's a year 2 player, and he's a lot better. So I don't know. I like this team. A lot of teams I didn't talk about. Obviously, I didn't talk about the Mavericks. Didn't talk about Suns, Pelicans, Warriors. I didn't talk about Magic, Cavs, Pacers. I barely talked about the Kings, if I'm being honest. I had to say that I like their aura and something about it because they used to have the aura of bad, just bad. And I like the aura surrounding this team. Light the beam. That's cool. That's so cool. This is a cool team, a fun team, and I'm excited that they're, probably going to make playoffs again. I'm sad that the Lakers might not make playoffs. I really want them to, man. Like right now, they just don't look like it. But yeah, there's a lot of teams I didn't talk about. We're almost at about 45 minutes. I feel like that's a good length. Yeah. Like I said, I'm going to be doing an episode every 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, I'm hoping to give my thoughts on what has happened in the past 2 weeks. Perhaps if there has been any large scale changes in the standings at this point. Maybe a team that is at the bottom of the play-in will slide back up into the 5 or 6 spot, something like that. Either conference, I don't know. We'll see. And then, like I said, I'm hoping to potentially come up with some other topics to bring up and talk about at the end of episodes. Maybe begin episodes with the news / just current events, and then finish the episode with my thoughts on some topic of my own choosing related to NBA. I don't really know how that'll go quite yet. I have a couple different ideas, ruminating thoughts, topics, just things I have, like perhaps my top 10 players of all time list, perhaps my thoughts on the bubble season and what people say about that, and how I think that the following season was a little more Mickey Mouse than the bubble season, but that's just between you and me. But that is to come. I'm hoping that those topics in those 10 to 15 minute yap sessions, as I'll call them, will be more focused, solidified, backed by research and facts, as well as my own personal opinions. So that way I can sort of read it and talk to you through this little camera of mine. But yeah, that'll be next time. That's not for this time. I'm not about to go through my top 10. I'm just happy to be talking again. I'm happy. I haven't been watching. Maybe I gotta go turn some games on. They're about to start. But anyway, I'm glad to have you all here listening. Like I said, in 2 weeks, there will be another episode. And perhaps keep an eye out. I may do special episodes on the weeks in between where I didn't plan anything. There may be special episodes with guests. And that could be pretty fun. So I might want to keep an eye out for those. If those were to happen, the other episodes would remain as scheduled. They will happen January 8th, January 22nd, February 5th, February 19th. Episodes on all those days. Those gaps, maybe special episodes. Oh, and I will be posting more on my TikTok at MikeDogNBA. MikeDogNBA. And I'm going to maybe try and use my Twitter more as well. I think that one is at Michael Riley NBA. So I'm going to try and use those a little more. At least when I'm watching games, I'll tweet a couple times. And then I would like to start uploading at least maybe once a day on the TikTok. So you can go hear me yap even more, but just shorter, smaller, condensed, less than a minute. So anyway, thanks everyone for watching. And if you have any any ideas for topics of future topics, or if I didn't talk about your favorite team, let me know. Please. And I'll talk about them. I will do and research any topics and discuss them. Anything. Just let me know. Anyway, thanks for listening. As always, this is Dunks and Discussions, an NBA podcast hosted by me, Michael Riley. I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.